What is happening, all 100,000 of you LARPers out there? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are going to be taking a look at the Springfield Echelon, what I liked, what I think could be improved, how it shot, and at the end, we'll wrap it all up with a should you buy it or should you consider this as a serious contender for EDC, duty, whatever it might be. Let's get into it. All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, as we mentioned in the intro, it's going to be all about the Springfield Echelon that we have here in my hand. But before we talk about the long list of pros that this gun actually has out of the box, if you guys do want to support the channel, there's really 3 ways you can do so. So Brownells is one of the biggest supporters of the channel. You could use bro code RDB10, saves you 10% off at brownells.com, as well as Downrange Thermal. RDB5 saves you guys 5% off almost everything on the website at Downrange Thermal. So if you're looking to get in thermal, night vision, those guys are super cool. They're local and they really support the channel as well. And then lastly, guys, Battlehawk Armory is one of the newest sponsors of the channel. I do have a code RDB. Unfortunately, it doesn't save you any money. However, it does support the channel. Those guys are already kind of at the bottom end of the pricing on the internet. So you could do your research, look around, compare it to Brownells, compare it to Palmetto, compare it to whoever. They usually have the cheapest price without a discount code. So just using RDB helps me out over there and shows those guys that I sent you over there and supports the channel as well. So we first have to get our full disclosures out of the way. So full disclosure, Springfield did send me this pistol for review. With that being said, as you guys know, I'm always going to deliver an unbiased review to you guys because my true loyalty lies with my audience. You're going to hear 100% my unadulterated, unfiltered opinion on whatever gun it is that I'm reviewing, and today it just happens to be the Springfield Echelon. We got that out of the way. Let's get into the pros. So without making this a comparison video to the Glock 17, it is very hard to not compare some of the improvements that Springfield has made to the striker fire pistol game because Glock has kind of been the benchmark for the last 40 years. Now, I know a lot of people might argue with that because Glock really hasn't truly innovated over the years. The Echelon and what Springfield's done here has been something quite amazing that I honestly think Glock should have done years ago. So let's start from blast end to ass end, and we'll start up here at the front. So this thing is a full-size pistol. We might as well bust out the Glock 17 now just so you guys can see a comparison side by side and see that it is in fact a full-size gun. So here's a Glock 17 on the right, my right, your left, and you can see they match up exactly in grip length and slide length. So this is a full-size pistol. Immediately, the first thing that I notice are the sights. So Springfield has included steel night sights on the slide that come stock. As you guys know, I throw out every single pair of Glock sights that come with the gun. Now, this isn't something revolutionary. Most other companies besides Glock include pretty nice backup iron sights. And in this case, they're not suppressor height sights because there's no threaded barrel in this version. However, they seem a bit taller than most stock gun sights. So that's pretty cool. And then I'll walk up to the camera here a little bit so you guys can see a little bit better. But then after that, the next thing you'll notice is these really aggressive front slide serrations for your press checks. Makes it very easy to engage the slide. There's no question about whether or not these slide cuts are deep enough. That's something I've noticed even on the Gen 5 Glocks, their slide serrations in the front are not very deep. These are deep, aggressive, and angled forward as well, so you can really get a good grip for your cool guy press checks on this thing. Front slide serrations are immaculate. Up on top, we have a Springfield logo, which is pretty cool, very low profile. You know, it's not like highlighted in white. I know a lot of guys don't like logos, so that's just something to note. We have a full-length Picatinny rail here on the bottom, but going back from there, let's talk about the improvements that Springfield has made to the frame itself. So the first thing I want to note are the shelves that they've put right here. They're not super aggressive, but it is much more than Glock has done on their own OEM frames. They put a little bit of a ledge, if you guys can see on the camera. Again, it's not like it's a full gas pedal or anything like that, but it gives you just enough to be able to get your thumb on the frame there if you like to have this type of grip, and push down and get a positive recoil management with that. And same on the other side of the gun. So both sides have that little shelf as well as pretty aggressive, but not too aggressive stippling as well. And that's kind of the theme of this gun. This gun has done everything that Glock should have done 30 years ago right. They've done it right on this pistol. So they've got the shelf built in here with the stippling as well. They do have a double undercut here, so this is something that you typically have to do yourself or send aftermarket with Glocks. So a double undercut here, so you got a little bit more room for your middle finger here to get a much higher grip on the pistol, as well as for your support hand and stippling under here as well. So double undercut with stippling on the bottom as well as in the front of the trigger guard. So very well done on the frame. So as far as the grip texture goes, some people might be wondering about the goon tape here. I just like to run goon tape because I run a lot of dry chalk and it kind of absorbs it. And in the Texas heat, it helps when you're sweating to have that kind of porous surface with chalk already absorbed into it. But the actual stippling of the grip is phenomenal. There's no reason I didn't cover it up because that's too aggressive or it's not aggressive enough. It's actually perfect. It's that perfect in between balance of being grippy but not too grippy that it's going to be abrasive on your stomach if you're carrying appendix and whatnot. You might notice, since we're talking about the frame here, that there's actually a mag release on the right side of the gun. Well, surprise, surprise, there's also one on the left side of the gun. Only guns that I know of that do this are the HK VP series of guns, so you can actually actuate the mag release from both sides. So on Glocks, they have that one that's reversible, so you can reverse it. This one, they actually were able to keep it as a press button method because the HK has more of a lever style magazine release. They actually kept it with a button style, but you're actually able to actuate it from either side of the gun, so lefties can rejoice. That's pretty cool. Now let's move back up to the slide here because I kind of breezed over with these front serrations and kind of moved to the grip there. Let's talk about the rear serrations and this little cocking point here. So you have some really nice aggressive rear serrations as you do in the front, but then you also have this like taper back here that goes to a wider point at the back, so you can actually grab this and pretty easily cock it back. For someone who has a less grip strength, maybe a woman, if you want your wife to carry something like this, they can actually easily grab this back here or grab it over the top, and they have a nice point here in the back in which they can actually get a good purchase on the gun without slipping off the back. Another little cool feature, again, it's all the little things that this gun has put into it that really impressed me and that really send it over the edge for me. Before we move on, we do have a pretty nice barrel. Nothing really to say. The lockup's pretty tight there. Not much play whatsoever on that barrel there. And then we have a loaded chamber indicator which sticks out slightly, and there's a little red point on the top, a little red slot on the top that you guys can't see, obviously, because we are clear. That will stick out and show you that your chamber is loaded. Anyways, I always do my press checks either way. Now that we've covered all of that, guys, let's talk a little bit about the slide release. This is one of the best improvements that Springfield has made on this pistol. So a lot of guys, when shooting stock Glocks, have an issue with their grip being a little too high right here on the left side of the gun. And with the stock Glock slide release, it actually sits down a little bit here, and guys can either hold it down or push it up while firing, which will cause obviously a stoppage. And so what Springfield's done is, instead of making that a loop around like the Glock has, it's actually just a shelf right there, which is pretty awesome because all you have to do is simply and easily, it's very easy to actuate, just push that down like so. And so when you're shooting, there's literally, unless your support hand is like up on the slide here, there's literally no way you could accidentally hit that. So that's a great little design feature, and it actually makes it much easier to actuate when you're shooting versus a like bent down like the Glock has here. So I'll keep talking about it, might as well show you guys. So the Glock has this like bent down, it's very slippery and it's easy to slip off, and most guys end up pushing it right on the top there, right from the top. So what Springfield's done is just eliminated that piece that folds down and just made it a shelf. That's all it is. Pretty ingenious, seems pretty obvious, but I mean, no one's done it till today, and it's very easy to actuate. Just a very quick swipe right there. Very easy to actuate, much easier than the stock Glock one is. I think that is one of the coolest features about the Echelon that I found. There have been entire companies made on fixing that Glock issue, right? Like we see right here, this CAGWorks raised and extended slide release. That is exactly what this thing has been made to solve that problem with the Glock slide release. So the fact that Springfield has done it with a much easier, I mean, that's a much easier and less intrusive method, and it's very easy to actuate. I have big hands, but my thumbs are a little shorter compared to the rest of my hand, so I could very easily still reach that slide release there. As you guys can tell, I'm very excited about that because it is one of the coolest features about this pistol. Again, seems super obvious, but no one's done it before Springfield as far as I am aware. So the cool thing about this pistol is it's actually made in Croatia. I didn't know this, but a lot of the industry is just, I guess, understood that some high quality stuff comes out of Croatia, especially the Springfield stuff like the Hellion and this pistol here. So just a cool little fun fact for you guys. Let's talk about the trigger itself. So the trigger is an absolutely great trigger for what it is, for being a striker fire pistol. It is a flat face trigger, so when you get rid of that little fan blade there, you can see it's flat faced. And the actual trigger press itself, So you have a little bit of take up, you hit a wall, and then it's a very clean, smooth break. The reset, very short, very short. I just did it really slow so I wouldn't overshoot it. And then right back on the break. So as you guys can see, very clean trigger, resets right there, break again. I've never shot a CZ P10C, but I've dry fired them. This reminds me a lot of that CZ trigger, maybe a little bit better. Again, having not shot one, I don't want to compare it, but much better than a Glock trigger, if that's, you know, what you're used to. Great trigger. I was actually keeping up with my buddies on a stage. We were shooting, and they were shooting Staccato XCs, and I was keeping up with the Echelon. So the trigger is pretty darn good. You really can't ask for anything more in a striker fire pistol. So I'm very happy with the trigger. Very awesome gun. Now let's talk about the one negative that I had and the one bad experience that I've had with this pistol so far, and that is going to be the optic mounting system. So at first glance, this thing has an incredible optic mounting system because it does not require plates. It has this kind of lug setup where it's already cut for a bunch of different optics on here, you know, RMR, SRO, was the same footprint, Leupold, EOTech E-Flex, obviously, and many others, right? So you could put pretty much any major manufacturer's red dot on this gun without needing a plate system because it has these different like little lugs that you put in there, and it's got all the screw holes cut. Now, the one problem I did have was I actually had this optic during that same course I was telling you about with my buddies shooting against their Staccatos. I was shooting, bang, 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 and then something flew off my gun. I thought my gun exploded and hit me in the head and right here in the hat. And it turns out it was my EOTech E-Flex had flown off the gun and hit me in the hat. Again, in the split second it happened, I wasn't sure what exactly happened. I just saw a piece of my gun was missing. I thought it blew up for a second, but it was just the optic flying off, and it hit me in the head here. I had reached out to Springfield, told them kind of what happened, and we pretty much chalked it up to I was using the wrong screws. I was using the screws for the Leupold that come with the box, in the box with the Springfield, and they told me that they actually don't send screws for the EOTech E-Flex, and that if you want to shoot it with the E-Flex, you need to use the screws that EOTech has provided. So it was a installation error on my behalf. It seems like they should send the screws for the E-Flex if they're going to have the ability to mount the E-Flex. That's my one critique of this firearm. It's a super affordable firearm. I love that they don't have plates here, so it lets your optics sit much lower. And actually, I can actually still co-witness my iron sights through this E-Flex here. I can still see my iron sights, which is really cool without having suppressor height sights. But again, they should just include the screws for every optic that they include the lugs for. Again, I reinstalled it with the E-Flex screws. The E-Flex screws did seem a lot thicker than the Leupold screws that had kind of stripped out and had this thing rocket off the gun. But they fit, torqued them down to 18 inch-pounds. It hasn't flown off again. And we've put about another 150 to 200 rounds through it since then. So this thing has undergone a total of 550-ish rounds for review so far. And so far we've had absolutely zero malfunctions. So complete 100% reliability as far as that goes. I have all the confidence in the world carrying this. I did carry this EDC for several months now. I've carried it for about 2 months. Appendix carry in my Tier 1 concealed MSP holster. I've been carrying it every single day, and I have absolutely been in love with this pistol, the way it feels, the way it shoots. So the combination of the trigger with the grip angle and all of the double undercuts and just everything that they've done to this grip to improve it over, you know, a traditional striker fire pistol has made this thing a super easy and fun gun to shoot. As far as striker fire guns go, this is my absolute favorite one to shoot. Before we get into the summary, let's just talk really quickly about what came in the box. So Springfield sends it with a little soft case here that you see. Nothing special, but a little range bag, I guess you could say. It comes with one 17 round and one 20 round backup magazine. So I'll show you guys what the 20 rounder looks like. Looks pretty great in there. I'm not gonna lie. I really like the look of this thing with a 20 round mag. Big fan of that, right? They also send it with magazine speed loader. I never use these, so I just left it in the box. They also sent it with a little extension base plate for the magazine. I believe this is to make the 17 round mag extend it to a 20 round mag. It comes with a back strap for the pistol itself. And then they send the optic mounting screws and lugs and stuff like that for mounting all your different optics in there. So lastly, lock that nobody uses, Springfield branded. But hey, I guess if you don't have a safe, then that'd be nice to have. Now, with all that being out of the way, let's talk about my final thoughts and whether I would recommend this pistol to my friends, to my family, to my viewers to purchase and use seriously or just for fun at the range. And short answer is hell yeah. I love this pistol. I am a huge Glock fan. I've tried many different pistols. I like HK, I liked Smith & Wesson, I've used FN, I've used Glock. So I've used all the major brands of manufacturers and pistols, and to be honest with you, I wasn't super excited about the Echelon. Springfield actually sent this to me without me knowing because I had asked for more mags for the Prodigy, and they accidentally sent me Echelon mags, and I was like, hey, is this your way of telling me you're sending me an Echelon? And then they did. So I actually wasn't even excited about this pistol until I actually got my hands on it and started shooting it. And that is when I really just fell in love. I mean, there's nothing besides the optic flying off the gun, which was most likely user error, that I can really knock this gun for. It's been 100% reliable. It is a super easy to shoot gun for not being comped. I know it is a full-size gun, but for not being comped, and I'm used to shooting my comp pistols, it's super flat shooting. It's a great time to shoot. It's been reliable. It feels great. It looks great. There's just nothing I could really knock on it, guys, especially for the price point. This thing is coming in at like Glock prices with all of these little things that make it that much better than Glock, that all add up to make it a much better pistol for the money. And since it's been reliable, that's usually my biggest knock for pistols, is like, well, it's not as reliable as Glock. So far, with 550 rounds, this thing has been 100% reliable. So I can't knock it for any reason besides, again, just not including those screws for the E-Flex. I guess while we're at it, let's just talk about the E-Flex real quick. Like it, don't love it. EOTech makes amazing products. I love their holographic sights. I love their 1 to 10 that I've been using lately. This thing is not quite bright enough for me.
You're not that guy.
And that's pretty much my only complaint. I was shooting into the sun at a competition recently. My glass was a little dirty and the sun was just blowing up my glass, and so the dot wasn't bright enough to see through it. So I wish I had like one extra setting to get me over there. But I mean, overall, pretty big window, not too many complaints. I mean, it's been pretty durable. It's held zero. Even after it flew off, I didn't have to re-zero it. I just screwed it back down and it's fine. But all right, guys, that's gonna wrap it up for the Springfield Echelon. Thank you so much for staying to the end of the video. If you guys like this video, please drop me a like down below, drop me a comment. Anything helps. Doesn't matter, it all helps the algorithm. And then lastly, if you want to subscribe, I would greatly appreciate that. Last thing I want to leave you with is a note of positivity, guys. Please let this be your reminder to eat healthy, drink water, go to bed on time, wake up, you'll feel so much better, and work towards whatever it is that your goal is, whatever you're passionate about in life. Get out of that rat race. You know, if that's dragging you down, just live for the moment. Life is so short. Love your neighbor, love your family, just tell everyone you love, surround you, that you love them. Love is so underrated in today's society. So yeah, I love you guys so much, and thank you so much for staying to the end of the video.